Hi, I'm Sonia. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to work on some movements to manage a lumbar scoliosis. Now, if you have a lumbar scoliosis, you probably also have a thoracic and most likely even a cervical. But today we're just going to focus on the lumbar region. And what we need for the practice today is a blanket and a yoga block. So if you don't have a yoga block, you can use maybe a slightly deflated soccer ball, or just get creative with what you have around the house. And if you can't find it, that's fine. You don't need the props. So let's get started. So we'll lie down and bend the knees. Place your feet on the floor, comfortable distance apart. And just settle in here. Place one hand on your lower belly and the other hand on your upper chest. Take a moment to feel the breath in your body. Feel the belly and the chest expanding underneath your hands, but also feel the back body expanding at the floor. Use the floor as a sounding board. Just listen to the rhythm of your breath from the inside out and allow that to focus the mind, quiet the mind. And remember that when we're working with scoliosis or any asymmetry really, it's not about reaching some idea of perfection. It's about working with what we've got. It's about being present with what is, and going from there. So as we connect with the breath, we can connect more deeply with the body, become more and more present just in this moment. Then when you're ready, we'll stretch the legs long. Just bring your arms by your side for a moment. And take your hands to your lower ribs, the front ribs, and just notice which of your ribs is protruding a little bit more than the other. So in my case, I have a right lumbar scoliosis, which means the convex part of my spine curves to the right, and the concave side is on the left. So my left ribs are protruding a little bit more because the left side of my back is concave. So just to get an idea of what's going on for you, most people have a left lumbar curve is more common. And so if that's the case for you, probably your right lower ribs are protruding a bit more. So from here, we'll take the hands to the front of the hips, and then with your next inhalation, stretch your right leg long, reach your right leg out, press out through the heel, flex the toes toward the knee, and as you exhale, relax. And inhale, stretch the left leg long, and reach long through the left leg, and relax. We'll do once more, just like that, same on both sides. You may feel that one side is a little easier than the other. One side has a little more resistance as we go against the pattern that we have. And now what I'd like you to do is spend a little more time on the side of your lumbar concavity. So in my case, I'm going to stretch my left leg long for about 2 or 3 breaths. And hold that, so creating a little more space between the hip and the rib and lengthening out through that side. And rest. And then on the other side, I'm just going to do it for one inhalation and rest. So we'll do a couple more rounds. Just spend 2 or 3 breaths on the side of your lumbar concavity, stretching that leg long to create more space on that side of your back. And one more round. And then just pause there, rest for a moment, and let the nervous system integrate what we've done. And then from here, we'll bend the knees, roll to one side, and sit up. We'll sit up and fold up your blanket. Give your knees a little more padding if you need it. And then just come onto your hands and knees. Now walk your hands forward a few paces and stretch your arms long and reach your hips back. So the hips are moving back just a little further back than the knees, not much. This is extended puppy pose. So we're not going for child's pose. This is actually very active posture. Press down through your hands, lift and engage the arms, and reach your hips back a little bit further. And if this is hard for you in your shoulders, if your shoulders are tight, you can also do this with your elbows bent. It might be a little easier for you, in which case you'll reach forward through your elbows and reach back through your hips. But if your arms are straight, you reach forward through your hands and back through your hips. So this simple traction exercise is one of the best things we can do for scoliosis. No matter what your curvature is, tractioning the spine is very beneficial. And from there, we'll walk the hands back, place the hands just below the shoulders, root down through the hands, anchor the shoulders on the back, and then reach your right leg back with your toes tucked under and press out through your heel. Reach a little more through your inner heel. As you reach back through your heel, does your left hip scrunch up toward your ribs? Quite likely. So why don't you take your left thumb to your left hip crease and draw that outer left hip back as you reach your right heel back. And then you're going to take your left hand to your lower ribs and feel, does one side of your ribs, are they dropping down towards the floor? Most likely on your concave side they are, so you need to draw those lower ribs in and up away from the floor. So keeping the alignment in the pelvis and the ribs that lift that back foot. And reach through the heel again, tone the leg. And as you lift up, did you lose the alignment we set? I did, so I need to reset the pelvis, the lower ribs. And that way I can strengthen the concave area of the back. Then bring the knee down and we go to the other side. So anchor the hands and the shoulders, reach back through the left heel. Toes are tucked under and the heel is reaching actively. And then take your right thumb to your right hip crease Draw that outer right hip back. Keep that, and then take your hands to your front ribs and see, check it out, what's going on there. You need to draw maybe both your ribs are sagging down. You need to draw both sides, but maybe one side needs to be lifted a little bit more. Try to keep that as you lift your back foot. Continue to reach through the inner heel. Then find your alignment again. If you need to use your hand, go for it, but otherwise just use the muscular activity in your legs and your awareness. Nice deep breath. And then come down. And from here, we'll transition into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. So actually, let's move the blanket out of the way. And step the hands about 2 paces further forward than the shoulders. Spread the fingers, root down, anchor the shoulder blades, and tuck the toes and lift the knees. Let's keep the knees bent for a while and reach back through your sitting bones. The length through the spine. And then on the side of your lumbar concavity, we're going to straighten that leg. So if you have a left lumbar curve, you're going to straighten your right leg. If you have a right lumbar curve, then you're going to straighten your left leg. If your spine curves to the left, then your concavity is on the right, and you want to straighten your right leg in order to bring space into that collapsed area. And then let's bend both knees the same amount. Press down through your inner hand, lengthen your inner arms, reach your sitting bones up and back, and then attempt to maintain that space that you've created. And maybe straighten the legs, maybe not, but most importantly, keep the spine nice and long. And then bend the knees, walk your feet forward towards your hands. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Keep the knees bent, plug your feet into the earth, and take your thumbs to your hip crease. Press your thumbs back, stretch your belly forward, lead with the heart as you stand up. And from standing, let's find our block. So again, take your yoga block or whatever you have that's available that will work. And we're gonna stand with the feet hip width apart, parallel, bend the knees, and take the block between your thighs, just on the narrow width. Adjust your feet accordingly. And just lightly squeeze the block with your legs. And you're using your outer thighs toward the inner thighs toward the block. Make sure you're not squeezing your glutes. Just press your thighs. And then take your hands to your lower back and feel which side of your back is slightly concave. Feel the concavity. And which side is protruding a little bit more. Now on the concave side, what we're going to do is press that thigh, that leg into the block a little bit more firmly. And you should feel that dead zone waking up, enlivening the concave area, firing the quadratus lumborum, the erector spinae, and the muscles supporting that side of your back. And then for some of us, this will be plenty. That's all you need to do. But if you want to turn it up a notch, we can continue this, squeezing the block a little bit more on the leg of your lumbar concavity, and then bend the knees. Bend the knees a bit. Keep squeezing the block and squeeze a little bit more with the side that needs a little more firing. And then we can reach the arms out to the side, roll the shoulders back, and then take the arms overhead. Bend the knees a little bit more Yes, you can. And reach up through the pinky fingers. Root down through the outer heels. And turn the corners of the mouth up. Good. Slowly stand up. And release. And then we get to lie down again. So take the block to one end of the mat and find your blanket again. Take your blanket and roll it up. Okay, so what we're going to do is lie down on the blanket on the side. So my lumbar curve goes to the right. So that's the convex side. So you're going to want to lie down on the convex side of your lumbar curve. So if it's yours is on the left, then obviously you go to the left. But I'm going to lie down with the rolled up blanket at my lower right ribs and line with the knees bent, line up the knees with the hips, with the shoulder. And if this is uncomfortable for your neck, take a pillow or a blanket and prop up your head. Then I'm going to extend the top leg and prop it up on that block. And then actively stretch out through that top leg. You can see how that brings a lot more space here. And the blanket is literally drawing my spine back toward the midline. Without the blanket, I sag down and I increase the curve. But with that blanket and the extension of the leg, then I'm getting a lot of opening, a lot of space here. I could also extend the arm overhead. However, if you have a thoracic curve that's quite pronounced, I wouldn't do the arm overhead. Go over the thoracic curves in another video. Notice if you're rolling forward or backward, or if you're collapsing, try to find your Tadasana, your mountain pose in your side lying. So this is a good idea to practice this 3 to 5 minutes every day. But for the sake of our time together, I'll move on. So just roll to one side, or press up to sitting rather, and then we're going to lie down. So take my blanket across the mat, move the block, and set yourself up so that you're sitting on the blanket for now, and then lean back onto your elbows. And then slowly slide off the blanket. You'll feel the buttock flesh and maybe even your pants sliding down just a little bit. But what we're doing is getting traction in your lower back, tractioning the lumbar region. You want to slide down until your sacrum is on the floor. And then take a hold of the sides of your yoga mat and pull down. Get a little more traction. Tuck yourself in and stretch the legs long. Rest the backs of the thighs on the blanket and then just turn your palms up. Rest there and let everything settle in. So I'd love it if you could stay here for several minutes, and I will leave you to rest. So thank you very much for joining me. And I hope that what we did today was helpful. And if you'd like to continue our work together, please visit my website, sonialuce.com. Hope to see you again. Namaste.